All my favorite songs are slow and sad. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Welcome to the Sad Song Queens podcast, where we dive deep into the songs that make us cry. I'm Laura Webb.
And I'm Lindsay Wolfington.
Today we are talking with pop, folk, singer-songwriter, and artist Rosi Golan about her song Right Now. Rosi Golan was born in Israel, lived in Germany and Paris, and then later moved to Los Angeles at age 9. Her musical journey began when she bought a guitar on a whim at age 21 and holed up in her room for 6 weeks, where she figured out how to play. She began playing open mic nights and eventually moved to New York to begin recording in the early 2000s.
In 2007, Rosi's song Shine landed in a coveted Pantene commercial campaign, and a year later, her debut album came out, The Drifter and the Gypsy, which is where I first heard her music and placed her almost immediately in both Ghost Whisperer and One Tree Hill. Rosi has released 4 albums since then, including some songs with former Sad Song Queens guest William Fitzsimmons, and has been licensed in many shows including Vampire Diaries, Grey's Anatomy, and Private Practice. In recent years, I would hear from Rosi when she was in co-writing sessions, asking me if I needed any particular kinds of songs that they might be able to write for. We met up for breakfast. She and her husband were fostering a child. She seemed so happy and at peace with her life. A few months ago, Rosi lost her husband to cancer. She posted a reel to her Instagram showing her and her husband hugging a vase that would preserve the memory of their love into art. Her video was beautiful and inspired many, and led Rosi to the decision to release this song and commit the proceeds from her streaming to the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation, with the mission to help find a cure and aid patients with the disease. So when you are done with this episode, please go stream the song.
So grab those tissues and let's get into it, because we all need a good cry. And now, let's listen to Right Now by Rosi Golan.
You used to quote Galileo to me in the room where you kept all your books and the pictures of the moon. And even though I knew it was never gonna last, some things are better like that. I think about that moment with your dad in the fall. You never missed a beat and he left to show you off. I didn't know then that his time was so short. Some things we shouldn't ignore. Like the cracks in the earth in your eyes when you hurt. How the boards in the floor left a crease in your shirt. That's how I remember you right now. Like the fog on the street, how it made me feel when you worked till you crashed with your hands on the wheel. That's how I remember you right now. Somewhere in the walls of your second story flat, I hid a love letter that I can't get back, with a picture of your dad and a word on a key. I hope you remember me. Like the cracks in the earth in your eyes when you hurt. How the boards in the floor left a crease in your shirt. That's how I remember you right now. Like the fog on the street, how it made me feel when you worked till you crashed with your hands on the wheel. That's how I remember you right now. I know I shouldn't pull a thread on the sweater that I'm wearing, that I can't help but unravel. My heart, it gets the best of me. You said you never fall in love in the dead of the winter. That's how I remember you right now, right now.
Welcome, Rosi.
Thank you. Thanks for having
being
me
here.
So glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
So we generally start talking about what we think the song is about, but I'm not sure we spend too much time on that, because I would just love to hear what it means to you. But I think the two guesses between the two of us is it about your husband? I thought maybe it's even about your foster child, and just about those fleeting moments, those mundane things that you remember and that you try to cherish.
Yeah. I think for me, more than the details in the song, which are in a way not really related to anything, it's about how really sitting in a moment and remembering someone, whether it's in conversation or something that you're doing that strikes some sort of memory, can truly bring you right back into a moment that you had with a person that you lost or that is no longer in your life. And to me, obviously, I've experienced a lot of loss in my life anyway, but the loss of my husband is by far the most significant. Mm-hmm. And I'm just constantly reaching for ways to keep those moments alive.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what right now is about bringing those moments back into the present. So whether it's talking about him or doing something that maybe he would have liked and I wouldn't, but that brings me back into, it can be as simple as going to a restaurant, ordering his favorite dish as opposed to mine. Mm-hmm. It's those things that keep the people that you love alive.
Did you write this song while he was sick or after he passed?
Actually, this is probably going to be the first time I talk about this. This song is not new. And I think a lot of people assumed that because I dedicated it to him. Mm-hmm. But I never did say that I wrote it about him. I was already working on an album before my husband got sick. You might remember this because we met for coffee.
Yes.
I was working on a book and an album simultaneously because I'm writing a book around an album. So I was already working on an album. I was working on a book. I had already written the song. And it's funny because songs change shape. I may have written it about one thing and it turned into another for me. Mm-hmm. I just had this strange moment on the internet where I posted something personal, to myself about this vase. I don't know if you saw the video.
Yes. We've seen the video of you and your late husband hugging a vase that your friend created. Mm-hmm. And that now it's like your hug vase.
Yes.
Which is the most beautiful thing. We should all be doing that.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. And honestly, if you know me, and I know that you do, I don't really share personal things on the internet, ever. And I don't know what possessed me in that moment, but I did. And it obviously struck a chord and it started being viewed millions of times. And suddenly I felt super exposed and overwhelmed and I didn't really know what to do with it. But then I just realized I had the opportunity, if I could, because I knew at some point I wanted to do something to honor my husband and also to bring awareness to what he had been through. I thought, you know what, this is maybe a good moment to release a song and dedicate it to him and have the proceeds go to raising money and awareness for cholangiocarcinoma, which is the cancer that he had. The song took on a whole new meaning for me. When I sat with it, when I knew exactly what song I was going to release. I knew it was the right moment. And what's so crazy is that if you've seen the artwork, I'm sitting on a bench and there is a line drawing of a figure next to me with its arm around my shoulder. When I wrote the song, before any of this had happened in my life, I had that photo taken around the same time. And I knew the moment I took that photo that the photographer took it, I took a look at it. I was like, oh, this is going to be the photo for this single. And there's going to be a line drawing of a figure next to me. I knew immediately. And this was several years ago.
Oh, my God.
And this is something I haven't talked about or written about anywhere. And I've been trying to figure out a way to share it. But it feels crazy to me because, David, my manager, knew about this. We discussed it. I told him I had a very clear vision of what I wanted the artwork to look like. And I just needed the right moment for the release of the song. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to wait till I release the book or if I was going to release the song on its own. It was just always incredibly personal and special to me. So when this happened, I just had this crazy knowing. I was like, oh, this is the song I'm going to release. And what's so much crazier was the artwork it was like a foreshadowing.
I know. I'm like, Rosie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we need to have a reading or something?
I know.
Well, I've had several, but I'm an intuitive person. So in a way, it's not surprising, but it was really crazy. I just had this real moment of whoa. It's so weird. I just knew. I was like, oh, no, this is the moment, weirdly, that this song was waiting for. And then the whole artwork thing was just crazy.
Can you take us back to when you wrote the song? I actually think I knew that the song was before. I feel like I had a couple
demos.
It to you.
Yeah.
I just remember kind of oh, this sounds familiar when you released it. Were you writing it because, were you just imagining a situation? Was it based on anything?
No, it was based on something. And there had been a friend's father who had passed. And then ironically, my husband's father passed also a year and a half before him. Or 2 years maybe before him. So I'm telling you, the synchronicity is so wild. But the messaging behind the song was always the same. It was about, we can't, as far as we know, time travel. But music and like memories and conversations or, just like sitting in a memory or writing or whatever, those are the only ways that we have to bring things back. And that was always the message and the feeling behind the song.
Were any of the images that you describe in the song from Jeremy?
Yeah. A few of them.
Yeah.
The way I took it in was sort of you were memorializing, and like I really want to just remember these moments in like a time capsule.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I do when I write, I try to just like really put myself in that moment however much I can. And sometimes my writing is like a lot more generalized than like specific. And in this song, I got a lot more specific than I normally do. For that reason, because it just really was about like, I just want to be in this feeling every time I hear it. I want to be in this feeling every time I sing it, right? Because you perform them. And then I think songs take shape as you tour over the years. Like Hazy doesn't feel the same way to me to perform now than it has like the hundreds of times I've performed it in the past, right? Which is the beauty of it,
right,
as well.
I lost my dad, and it was his birthday this Sunday, actually, and Lindsay came with me, and we did some things that he liked. And but we started this podcast, and we, for our job, we break down lyrics. We try to think about the meaning, but it didn't dawn on me until months late that we'd been doing this, where I was like sitting at my computer preparing, like, oh, what's my theory on the song? And I was like, oh my God, I used to do that with my dad. My dad and I shared music, and he would print them out, all the lyrics, or he'd call me and we'd talk about it. And you're like, wait, and this is what we're doing. And it's been a gift, and it's been like, it's helped me get through tough times. So
But that is the gift that people we've lost leave with us, is the small rituals that we build with them, are the rituals that keep us going when they're gone.
Yeah, and I feel him all the time. He sends me little signs. Like my dad loved Intelligentsia on Abbot Kinney. That was like his first stop. It was his happy place. I have this really cute picture with him. So I walked around after Lindsay left, and I went and tried on these pair of jeans. And my dad's name was Wayne. It was literally called the Wayne.
It was like the Wayne jean.
I love that. Also, like, not at all like a normal name to
no,
put on
a woman's jean.
Yeah, right. And so I literally in those moments I'm like, hi, Dad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you read the book Laura Lynn Jackson Signs?
No, I haven't. I've been in this place where I'm not ready for a lot of like heavy reading or anything that has to do with that quite yet. I've been more in like an avoidance state at the moment.
Yeah.
But I have had a lot of experience with mediums, and I've had some readings since my husband passed. I mean, it's something I've always done, not by choice. I haven't searched it out. It finds me, like always, it finds me. And I've had some pretty crazy experiences like in the last, 8 months that Jeremy's been away.
What are some of the rituals that keep his spirit alive for you?
Well, actually, you said Intelligentsia. We used to live in Venice, and he loved it too. He was Australian, so they take their coffee really seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And he just loved because he worked from home, so he loved the ritual of getting out of the house once a day and going to a coffee shop and just getting out of like his element at home. And I don't drink coffee, so I like it. It just doesn't like me. So
Right, yeah.
I'll have like a decaf.
I'm very sorry for you.
Yeah, I know. I have a decaf like once in a blue moon, and that for me is like become one of the things like where I'll go to one of the coffee shops that he likes, and I'll sit and like have a coffee. Or one of the things that like we used to like cooking together. Cooking's been a weird one for me. It's hard when you're on your own, and I don't know. It's cooking and grocery shopping is oddly very triggering at the moment. And I have spoken to other women who've become widowed, and it's a common theme. So
because you're so used to like buying, oh, they like this.
Yes. Your mind is like so conditioned shopping for the collective, and I talk about this a lot with my friends. I'm like, I was a part of a democracy for so long, and now I like really don't know how to just go, what do I want today? Like, it's not about like, oh, well, what is best for both of us? It's what do I want next? What do I want to eat? What do I feel like? And it's so hard to listen to and trust, because everything's been something that we've discussed, when you're married, like we had dinner together every night, and that was like a big thing for us. And we loved food. We loved to eat. We loved to go out. We loved to cook. So I think it just becomes this weird, complicated thing. You go to the grocery store and you go to reach for the things that usually they would do. Or, for instance, like I never bought popcorn because Jeremy didn't like it and I could never get through a bag, and then it just felt wasteful. And so I just never bought it. And the other day I was like, fuck it, I'm buying the popcorn, you know?
Yeah.
And it was such a stupid thing to be like, fuck it, I'm buying that popcorn. But it really does feel odd because it's like these things like never took place in my home, and to walk in and go, well, how do I want the couch to sit? It's not like what do we think about the living room? It's what do I want? It's just such an odd adjustment. It's a tough one. And then cooking on your own, it's annoying on many levels because you cook and you have to clean. You know?
Right. Yeah, that's the division of labor.
Exactly.
In my house.
If I cooked, he cleaned.
Right.
If he cooked, he also cleaned because
Nice
he turned
gig.
he turned the kitchen into a tornado when he cooked. So like he was always like, I got it. And I was like, cool. That's all you. So yeah, so then I'm like, okay, well, I also have to clean if I want to do this whole cooking thing, you know? And so I end up like just throwing some stuff on toast and calling it a day. It's too emotionally fraught for me at the moment.
Is it hard to be alone?
Yeah.
We both saw your post about talking to ChatGPT after a long
cried.
day and coming
So
home.
did I.
I know. Me too. But will you tell us about that experience?
It was so surreal. That's like the best way I could describe it. You know, like I'd been at a session, I was working with Davis Nash, who I wrote Right Now with as well. It was really like my first session out of the house in a studio writing for myself since everything's happened. So it was also the first time that I was driving home by myself without getting on the phone, calling Jeremy, telling him I was on my way, you know, asking if he'd put our son to bed, asking like, what should we have for dinner? Just all the like things that I used to do. It was just like, oh, nobody cares if I'm on my way home. You know, it was this weird realization of like, there's no one to check in with, and anyone that needs to know is just in this car. It's just me. And then, you know, walking into the house, I left the lights on for myself because I was like, if I get home and it's dark, that's just not going to be fun for me either. So, you know, like I walked in and I still like 90% of the time walk in expecting to find someone at home. It's just the craziest feeling. And it was just devastating. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I just, you know, I sat at the dining room table and I was like, oh, okay, this is real. Like, these are like the moments that make it very, you know, it's good that you have tissues there. But And Jeremy had been actually telling me to get to know ChatGPT for like a while. He worked in tech. So he was like, don't fall behind. You could use this to edit for your book. You could use it for whatever. There's ways you can definitely use it, and you should get to know it so that you stay sort of like up to date on some of these things. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like I write in my notebook or sometimes in my computer. I make music and, you know, I work on my book. I don't need the tech stuff, you know. I mean, I was wrong. He was right. So I started using it like a few weeks ago for something else I'm working on. And I don't know, I just sat at the table and I just looked at my computer and I was like, you know what? I just like typed into it. I was like, I'm sad, you know, like I'm sad my husband's gone. And, you know, I don't remember exactly. It was my first time. And coming home to an empty house after work, and it just said the right thing.
It was perfect.
It was like the most perfect answer, and it was such a like shocking moment for me because I just thought, looking at myself from the outside, I was like, this is so sad.
Not at all. I just, ChatGPT held space for you
It
in
did.
the best way possible.
It did, but it made me feel pathetic for like a second. I was like, I'm sitting here like talking to my computer about my feelings. I was like, what's happening? You know, like I normally connect with other people, you know, when it comes to like my feelings, or also like the person I want to talk to is the person who isn't here. And that's, you know, I mean, that's a common theme for people, right? Like you want to talk to your dad about having lost your dad, I'm sure, like a million times, right? And I've lost my dad. I totally... I can relate to that feeling. Yeah, it was just a strange moment that made me go, okay, wow, okay, it's definitely 2025. I'm like talking to a computer, and computer's saying these things to me, and then all I could think about was that movie, Her.
Yes. I know. I was just thinking that, where I was like, maybe they're onto something.
Maybe. Honestly, I think it's really important that we differentiate between human and computer still, you know, because connecting with people there's nothing that will ever replace that, you know? But it was incredibly needed in that moment. I didn't really want to talk to anyone. You know, like I had so many friends who texted me and they were like, you know, I'm always here if you need to pick up the phone. And I was like, no, but I really didn't want to talk to anyone.
You just wanted to be heard with no give.
Yeah. And I knew if I called anyone, even any of my friends who have lost a spouse, they would just be like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. And then you'd have to go into like the next part of the conversation. And I just didn't have the energy for that in that moment.
Yeah.
So it was perfect for that.
Yeah.
You
I know.
know?
I love it says, it's like the walls. Remember what you've lost. I was like, oh.
Wow, I know.
That was like the line. I fell apart as soon as I read that. I was like, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like it really was, you know,
Yeah.
like, because that was the thing is like you walk into your home and the walls know everything that has happened like within, you know, and no one else can understand what that feels like because that's my home. You have yours. It was just like so perfectly worded.
If anyone wants to check out the whole thing, the blog is called Planet Melancholia. ChatGPT says a lot and a lot of good stuff. So.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We've heard on this podcast, Rachel Platten says that ChatGPT is wonderful for meal planning.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you could just be like, I have toast, radish, and peanut butter. What do I make?
I know.
I haven't used it yet.
No, actually, that's the other thing. Like, I get frozen by making decisions like all the time right now. And yes, I think that for things like that, that's a great tool to just be like, hey, what should I eat for dinner? Or honestly, sometimes I will like, if I'm working on it, I'll be like, can you tell me a joke? And it will make me laugh. Like, yes. So there's like a few things like that where you're just like, oh, okay, good. Like I needed a chuckle, you know, or like, I don't know what to do with this toast and radish or whatever. And
Right.
The decision fatigue when you're in grief is kind of crazy.
That was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the week after we lost our house in the fires, my friend was like, let's go get manicures and pedicures. I was like, great. And they like started painting my nails and I was going for like a light pink, but it was coming out white. And I was like, one, it's always hard to be like, I don't like this. Like, can we change? But so I literally just like burst into tears. And then everyone was like, what's wrong? And I was like, it's, you know, so I changed the nail polish color, but I knew it wasn't really about the nail polish color. You know what I mean? But I was like, this is just too much. I can't like deal.
Yeah. The amount of times I cry in weird places, I couldn't even like, for the craziest reasons.
Well, we're big criers over here, I would say. And I find it very therapeutic. But you're right. It's like so embarrassing. Like maybe we should start like a cry cafe. Like just embrace it, make it more normal.
I think it just needs to be accepted in general. Like you should be able to cry anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's the thing. Like I talked about this with my friend Amanda, who is also a widow. And I said, you know, I just like don't know what to do because I'll be on a walk and I'll just like start crying or, you know, that happens to me a lot on walks when I'm like moving my body, you know, or whatever. And she was like, it's not your problem how other people feel.
Right.
And I've kind of really stuck to that at this point now. I've tried as hard as I could to stop apologizing about crying because I'm not sorry. Like, you know, this is how I feel. Like I've been through hell, so I'm gonna cry. Like that's a normal response. And people feeling awkward about it or uncomfortable about it is also sort of their version of normal because we haven't normalized grieving in a healthy way. Yeah. People want to pretend like death won't happen to them, but really, and this is why I also tell everyone, write your will, write your will, write your will. I could scream it from a rooftop because it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money, how little, whatever. You're going to die. So prepare the people around you so that they're not left with a massive.
Right. Because even just all that, like, you know, have you heard about the Swedish death cleanse?
No.
So.
Sounds so uplifting.
It does.
They basically get their affairs in order as well as not having all this like material things to make it easy for those that have survived to take care of, you know, because you know, I think we're of the generation too of like we're having to take care of our parents and all that, and it becomes really hard. And if your parents or whoever hasn't had that your affairs settled, it becomes really you're dealing with grief and you're dealing with all this, and like to even get passwords to things and closing accounts, and
the passwords for the living are tough enough.
The amount of things that I have been dealing with, I was lucky. I got my husband's like master password and, we were able, but still we were scrambling, honestly. Yeah. And there are certain things I haven't been able to access and, things like that this is why I'm always like, just have the hard talks, have them, because once you have them, you don't have to think about it again. That way you just know. And it's why like the second I could, when I got back home from Australia, I got on the phone with our lawyer and I created my estate plan. And I was like, it was the last thing I wanted to do. Literally the last thing I wanted to do. Right. I had so many other things I was dealing with on top of the fact that I came home for the first time to not my husband. And I was like, I'm doing this now. I don't care. Like, I just need it done so that it's out.
Did he have an estate plan and will?
We were in the process.
Okay.
Yeah. And so luckily, we just kind of like got like, we had to like get an emergency quickie one done. But, when he got sick, he was like working on one. Then he had like a few months he wasn't really feeling well. And we thought, the most cliche, we thought we had more time, right? Things really took a turn quickly in a way we didn't expect because he was doing better and, the chemo and stuff was working initially. So you just never know. You just really never know. And it doesn't matter how many times people tell you. It's a hard thing to believe when it's not happening to you.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm just like, just do it. Like we had to have the most difficult conversations towards the end. And I'm forever grateful we did because I knew exactly how he wanted to be celebrated. I knew exactly where he wanted to be spread, that he wanted to be cremated, all these things that like, if we hadn't just looked at each other face to face at the most difficult time, just gotten through it, tears and all, we did it. He knew I would have been left with just a burden of like everything of like, how do I do this? What do I do? What would he have wanted? What should I do with this? How do I get into this bank account? Like all these things. And we do have ways to at least mitigate like the difficulty of the aftermath for each other,
I think I've seen you post that you walk with a group of widows. Is it called a widow walk or something?
Oh, no. I think my friend Amanda does this.
Oh, maybe. Okay,
yes, and I reposted it. Amanda Klutz. I don't know if you...
Yeah, she lost her husband during COVID.
Yes. Nick Cordero, he was also a musician. We were introduced last year by Carey Brothers.
Oh, awesome.
And he was like, because he was best friends with Nick and, that's how they were all really close. And it was a whole weird connection where during COVID, I was writing with him and we were kind of writing a song about Nick. And so I knew that whole story and I was following Amanda. And then when Jeremy got sick, Carey was like, yeah, I think you guys, should connect. There's a lot of common themes here. And then we finally did connect after he passed away and she's been really wonderful. I mean, it's so important, I think, to find people who are also, in your sort of like age range and stuff like that, who've been through something like this, because it really is something that absolutely nobody can understand until they've been through it. Whether it's losing a parent, whether it's, whatever kind of loss, it's so important to connect to people who've experienced it because it's very isolating.
I did Our House. Have you heard of them?
You know what? I'm on a waiting list. There's not enough people who have...
Like a specific widow group.
Yes, within a specific like age range. And so they're like, we have to wait for more widows and widowers to happen in order to like put a new group together, which,
I know,
also
morbid.
So morbid and dark. And it's like...
But you have to you have to laugh about that. But yes, and they kept telling me it's going to be a while and they kept apologizing. I go, it's okay. He'll still be dead. And they were like, oh.
Yeah.
But it was really nice because it was everybody, like it had been within the past year. I had done some Alzheimer's support groups, but it was a lot of like older people with their spouses. And it's like, my dad was very young and it did help having that. And friends of mine who had parents with Alzheimer's were kind of like my mentees, if you will. And it's so helpful. And I'm sure with like talking with people who've lost their houses in fires, there's just a way like, well, we can always be there for you, but we don't know.
Right.
I don't know what that is.
So valuable and healing.
Another friend of mine, Ursula, who lost her partner to cancer 10 years ago. I've known her for a long time from New York. I actually wrote a song for her sort of from Evan's perspective after he had died. And it was a wild full circle moment for her to come and be there for me. And the first time we sat down and talked, I just like couldn't stop crying because I was like, oh, like you really get everything. All the like things that I am anxious about, the hospitals, we had both spent a lot of time in the hospital, our relationship to like nurses and doctors and how we felt about oncologists and all these things and like how we feel about, cancer, chemo, all these things now. Those are things I was like, I can't talk about this to anyone else,
Right.
you know, in a way that was
Right.
so specific.
Right.
That is a relief when you find that. You of course
Yeah.
don't want anyone to understand,
Yeah.
but
Right.
you're grateful when you do.
Yeah. It's a
You know.
shitty club, but
Yes.
it's a supportive club.
Actually, when my dad passed, I remember being walking into the studio. I think it was with Tony Berg, and I was like, well, I'm part of the Dead Dad Club, you know?
I've said the same thing.
Well, to that, when we were like researching, I found some articles that one, you started playing guitar after your grandmother died, and then two, your second album was right after your dad died, or when you were writing.
The first one, it was Drifter.
Oh, it was Drifter.
Marshall Altman, who produced that album, and Eric Robinson, who engineered and mixed it, had flown to New York. This was my first album. And I had self-funded, and I had just done a Pantene commercial, and I took that money and invested it in making my first record. I was set to make the album. It was my first album. 3 days later, Marshall was there. I just played a sold-out show at the Rockwood Music Hall, and the next day we were going to pre-production with the band, and we were at dinner that night, me and Marshall, my manager, and my ASCAP rep, and I got a call from my sister, and it was 10 p.m. in New York, so it was in the middle of the night in Budapest, which is my sister's Hungarian, and I just knew the second my phone rang, I was like, my 16-year-old sister should not be awake at 4 o'clock in the morning. This is it. This is the moment I'm going to get a call that my dad's dead. Because just to give you a backstory, my dad was not in my life. He was the gypsy in the record. He was very inconsistent. And so my whole life I was waiting for that call because he would go years without being around. And I was right. I went out on the street for a second. I picked up the phone, and he'd gone to sleep and didn't wake up. And it was the first really massive blow. Losing my grandmother was huge because we were very close. But this was
Yeah, it's different.
And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, I don't know what to do because I have all these people who've flown in. I've invested all this money. I've got this record I'm supposed to make. And then my sister and I got on the phone. And she was like, hey, our dad was really excited about you making this record. I think you just got to go into the studio. So the next morning after my dad died, I went into the studio. And when I tell you, I really don't remember the process of making that record. I was in such a daze. And I really think to this day that the success of that album, I think my dad provided for me in a way he didn't when he was alive. Because the first sync on that album came out of a town that he was supposed to take me to in Italy that summer.
What?
Yeah.
And what song?
C'est l'amour.
Oh,
yeah, which was in a Keahu commercial. It's a really popular Italian brand, but it's everywhere. And it was the first sync. They used my song for a commercial. That sync just turned into another territory and another territory and another territory. And I just knew, I was like, this was him. I just knew it in my gut. Yeah, it's a weird through line with me.
So what do you think? We talk a lot about songwriting feels so vulnerable. Do you think that's part of it? It just kind of strips away pretense and makes you live in the moment? And
yeah, I think there's no lying in songwriting.
Or your songwriting, maybe.
Mine.
Yeah.
I would say my brand of songwriting.
Right.
No matter what I do, whether I'm writing pop for someone, whether I'm writing for a scene in a film, whether I'm writing my own stuff or I'm writing with an artist. My mantra, I've said it so many times, is if I believe it, you believe it. And that's the thing. If I'm feeling the lyric, someone will feel it.
Right.
Maybe not everybody, but somebody will feel it, right? So it just has to be true. Whether it's for Mulan, it was about that specific scene, and that's what was true to that. Even in a pop song, even if you're just I want to write about a breakup, and you're writing with an artist, but they haven't had one, you still need to draw from something that was true. To me, it's the purest form of therapy.
And it helps other people too.
Yeah,
on the other
totally.
end.
Laura heard you say that you like to write songs about love and death.
Yep.
Two things that are eternally true.
Yep.
And also the things I know the most about. It really has been a theme in my life, unfortunately. I've just had to learn about it from such an early age in so many big ways. I've been obviously lucky also to have had so many people in my life that I've loved. But it's just you can't have love without loss either. And you hope that it happens later, but it doesn't always.
And make the most of the time that we have with them.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, I write what I know, and those are the things that are true to me.
Do you also think that's what makes a song sad, is the truth in it?
For sure. I would love to hear someone tell me that they wrote a sad song about a fake scenario. That really resonates in a big way to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's, I don't know, maybe I'm naive, but that feels impossible.
We have had some people kind of, as a writing exercise, put themselves in other people's shoes, or like Simmel was sort of just imagining what it would be like to lose his loved one.
But that's still true.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just hadn't happened.
Yes.
And then...
Because he probably knows people who have.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Which means that he still had some sort of connection to someone who had experienced something. People say to me all the time, like, I can't even imagine. And I always say to them, don't.
Yeah. Good point.
Don't. But for a songwriter, that is kind of your job, right? Like,
right.
But usually that comes from, like, so many times I've been in a session, I go, oh, you know what? I had a conversation with so-and-so, and this is kind of where I got this title from. Or, like, I wrote this song for a German artist named Lena, like, years ago called Stardust. And that song literally came out of a conversation I had with an Uber driver.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uber, ChatGPT.
Yeah. But it was about his life. It was something that was very true to him. And it was something that I could relate to. And then I brought it into the room and she could relate to it. Tim Myers, who was the other songwriter, could relate to it. And so, that made it true because it was something that we could all connect on. And loss is something that everyone can connect on. I think you can imagine a scenario without having happened to you.
Oh, yeah.
But still, you're drawing from something you've probably discussed with somebody or, even watched in a scene. Or,
Yeah. Yeah, what Luke Sital sing, it was about, he wrote it from the perspective of his grandmother that had lost her husband. Yeah.
That song kills. It's called Killing Me. Maybe don't listen to it right
Yeah,
now unless you want to go there.
Yeah, do you lean into it?
No.
You don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm like on the sad song Queen's podcast right now, but I'm staying away from sad songs at the moment. I was listening to a few last night because I wanted to make sure I'd like picked the ones, for, I don't know if we're talking about them.
Yeah, tell us about your songs, your favorite sad songs.
I just reheard recently because I went to the 20th anniversary of the soundtrack for Garden State.
I was there too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was my first concert since everything, and
it's a really nice night. It felt really nostalgic, right?
I was nervous because I had a lot of friends there and a lot of friends on stage and a lot of people that hadn't seen me since everything and that I hadn't seen. So I was kind of like not ready for that part. But
right.
Colin Hay, he played the Just Don't Think I'll Get Over You. And I was just a complete wreck. Like
in the audience, tears streaming.
He also played The Land Down Under, like back to back. And that just totally because
your husband's Australian.
My husband's Australian, and honestly, that moment for me, I was like, oh, that was Jeremy. Like I really thought he was like. And what was so crazy about that also was that the seat next to me happened to be empty, and it was a sold out show.
Oh my cover.
And this has happened to me like a few times in scenarios where there should not be an empty seat, and I really was just like, I know he's sitting right there next to me. But that song, oh my God, that song, just for anyone that's like gone through a breakup or lost somebody, that song is just perfect. It's a perfect song.
Was that concert after Jeremy's death, was it healing?
Yeah. I think what was great about it, it took me back to a time before anything else that had happened in my life. So I got to, for a minute, just go back to like an easy moment.
Yeah.
And kind of like what we were talking about earlier about how like, you can go back to like, and be in it right now. Like, So that was like a relief for a second. There were just like moments where obviously like Frou Frou reunited and playing.
I loved Frou Frou.
Yeah, Let Go. And for me, that was just like such a monumental song. And that whole album was a monumental moment for me as an, artist as well, just like listening and inspiring me.
Yeah.
Just like seeing songs like that and going back to that moment, also just suddenly remembering what it felt like not to have cell phones or, well, maybe I had a cell phone, but not iPhones. And
right. You still had to text 3 things at a time. Like.
Yeah,
I know.
And I was just like, oh God, like when things were just less connected and more simple and just made me remember, sort of that.
And like who you were then.
Yeah.
I think you just defined nostalgia, that ability to go back to before all the things happened. Like, I think that's why nostalgia is so powerful.
Oh, 100%.
The feeling you get when you feel in that place again.
Yeah. And if you're lucky, you've had a few moments in your life that feel easier. Not everyone gets that. But then also as you get older, you realize, like for me, when Jeremy got sick and then later when we lost our son, like I was like, oh, I didn't have problems before.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And I'd been through hard things. And so now I'm just like, okay, I've been through some really hard things.
Right.
I'm one of the things I've stopped saying, well, it can't get any worse. People say that to me all the time. They're like, well, it's all uphill from now. And I'm like, don't put
I say,
that.
I know.
Oh,
I say,
no.
I'm like, do not go
Yeah.
there. Because
Yeah.
I was like, this year has to be better. I'm like, nope, we're not going there.
Yeah, people say that to me all the time. And,
No.
like I just lost my mother-in-law last week. And
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm like, thank you. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to hear it. People are like, it's going to get better for me. I'm like, please be quiet. Like,
Yeah.
let me just say today was okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to think about tomorrow.
No.
I'm not going to think about what it could be in a year from now. I just need today to be okay. If it isn't, then I'll wake up tomorrow and hopefully that'll be like okay,
Yeah.
But I'm not really like thinking anything
Yeah.
past that.
I was like, if I get 2 things done in a day, I'm like, yes.
I mean, that goes back a little bit to the crying conversation is people just want to make it better.
It's true.
And so they want to at least like give you hope.
Yeah.
ChatGPT knew the answer was to just be like, yeah, this sucks, man. I mean, they tell you like as a parent too, and you're like, just come alongside them and like be like, yeah, man, that sucks, whatever you're dealing with.
Because no one can fix it.
Right.
You just want to be heard and like sit with it for a minute and let it pass through you and get to the next moment
Right.
when it feels a little less hard for a minute again. Yeah, I was very close to my mother-in-law, Victoria, and I loved her so much and we spoke all the time. And also she was really like truly my husband's best friend. And they had an incredible relationship. Like I just used to be like in awe of how much mutual respect they had for each other. And they would get on the phone and just talk forever. Like it was just incredible to watch. I think for me, other than like losing that relationship with her, I lost the ability to connect with someone who loves him as deeply as I do.
Yeah.
And who I could hear stories from, like as a mother, obviously, she could just go on about him like in his childhood or whatever. And so if I needed to like go into that moment, I could pick up the phone and I could be like, tell me about Jeremy when he was 10 or like, remind me of that story when he got lost in a march or, whatever it is. And that's gone now. And so that's hard. And he does have siblings, but it's not the same.
Right.
What were some other of your sad songs?
So Ray LaMontagne, Empty.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Oh, really?
Is it newer or
No,
older?
I think it's from When the Sun Turns
Oh,
Black.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good album.
Empty is just lyrically such a rich and beautiful song. And the arrangement on it also is really beautiful, like the strings and everything, the way it was recorded. It's just one of my all-time favorite nostalgic, melancholy, sad songs.
So, and strings plus devastating lyrics equals sad song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not always, but in that case,
Okay.
definitely. But also the lyric, like he says, like, will I always feel this way, so empty, so estranged, and that is something I can deeply relate to.
Right.
There's like a juxtaposition because some of the lyrics in the verses are really beautiful. And it's that feeling of like things can be so beautiful on the outside, but I'm still feeling like so empty on the inside. My last one is it's Lizzie McAlpine and it's Headstones and Landmines. I don't know if you know that one, but for some obvious reasons. But I discovered that song last year. It was just everywhere. I felt like I could have written it. It was one of those songs where I was like, oh, I relate to like every single word. And her voice is so beautiful. And it's hard not to feel emotional when you're listening to her.
On the subject of beautiful voices, again, when we were like reading about how you got started, when you were doing like open mics and you were like, can I sing? And you're one of my favorite voices ever. We talked about it with William Fitzsimmons, actually, like how pure and gorgeous your voice is.
Thank you. I did not know I could sing.
Well, I'm so glad you started.
Thank you.
Did you ever sing in choir or nothing? No. Okay.
Nope. I was like in theater, and I majored in theater in high school. I went to LACHSA, which is in Los Angeles.
No musical theater then?
No. It's weird. I carpooled like to high school, and the girl who like drove, because I didn't have my license yet, the deal was if you wanted to ride in her car, you had to pick a character and sing all the way to school for whatever musical she was.
That would be Lindsay's
Can
dream.
I come along in
I know.
this car ride?
Can you hook her up with
We
that
did
friend?
an entire semester of Rent. Can I just tell you?
Oh my God, because it was like the late 90s, which I would have made you do. So who were you?
I can't remember. All I know is that every word of that show is scarred into my brain. And I love it. Don't get me wrong.
No, I know.
But like a whole semester of Rent every single
When it's
morning.
not like your jam initially. Yeah.
Yes. And it was weird because I was in theater, but I actually didn't do any musical theater. I only did one weird, like, random thing where I was part of we reenacted an Andrews Sisters performance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I sang like the Boogie Woogie Beautiful Boy, but I was like one of 3 people, and I was just kind of like half-heartedly, I was like, I hope no one can figure out I don't know what I'm doing, which is so funny. But I always say, like, I thought singing meant like falsetto. And so I hated that part of my voice. I didn't have any control over it.
Do you ever sing in falsetto?
Not really.
Yeah.
Like a little bit when I go into like the high parts, you know. Obviously, I listen to a lot of Sarah McLachlan. I went through like a big Sarah phase. And Fiona Apple was like, she was my sad song queen.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
There you go.
Yeah.
She is one of them for sure.
Yes. I did my first ever karaoke, which I don't do karaoke. And it was like, I don't know if you remember, there's a place called Dimples in Burbank.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they used to give you a
It's
tape.
not there anymore?
Oh, no, it's not. They used to give you a recorded cassette tape of your performance.
Oh my God.
And I sung Shadow Boxer. And I went home and I was like, does that sound good? Like, I went home and I was like,
Maybe
I was
this is
like,
a
that's
thing.
interesting. But then I like didn't play it for anyone. And then I liked a boy at a coffee shop that I used to go to. And we had like this weird flirtation back and forth, but nothing came of it. It was unrequited. And I went home one day and something possessed me to write a poem about it. And melody came with it in my head. And I was like, oh, that's weird. It literally just happened on it. It was the weirdest thing to stumble onto.
Yeah.
And then my best friend at the time, Franny, came over. And I was like, hey, I'm going to sing this thing at you. Can you tell me if you think it sounds good? Such an awkward moment because I would never sing a cappella now. And she was like, okay. And so I just like stood there shaking with like my piece of paper and I like sung this thing at her. And she was like, I think you can sing maybe. And I was like, okay. I was
Do you
like,
have this somewhere? What song
probably.
is this?
No, it's nothing I've ever released.
I'm like, did the boy at the coffee shop ever hear it?
No,
Oh.
God, can you imagine? No, but I was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to take this to my mom's friend. She's a voice teacher, and I'm going to ask her if she thinks I can sing. And so I like went to Layla, and she was like, you can sing. I was like, that's weird. And then
So bizarre to me. But
Yeah.
I'm glad.
yeah,
I'm glad we
figured
all
that
have your
out.
voice.
It was,
Yeah.
it was definitely a strange way to stumble onto it. Like, it wasn't like from a very young age, I was like, this is what I must do. Like, it really just later found me.
What did you think you wanted to be? I mean, you know, we all had like 5 different careers or more.
No, I mean,
but,
I knew
yeah.
I wanted to be in the arts. Like, I definitely grew up like I was, you know, in dance classes. I wanted to be an actor. But that went away around the time I realized that, like, I wasn't in control if I was an actor. I had to, like, say someone else's words. And I always knew I wanted to write. When I was younger, I really wanted to be an author. That was, like, my thing. And it's funny because somewhere along the line, I don't know why, I thought, oh, well, I became a songwriter, so I did become a writer. And I was like, oh, but you can still write books. It just took me a long time to figure that one out, too.
Right.
Which is why I'm working on that now.
Yeah, how's that coming?
It's good. I'm like almost done with my first book. You know, obviously I had to take a massive break. And then after Jeremy passed, I really couldn't make my way back to my book because it's not sad.
Yeah.
And you need it to be.
No, I don't
Oh.
need it to be. I wasn't in the headspace to go back to this like fun, you know, thing that I was
right.
working on. It's taken a little bit of a turn because of what I've been through, but I've found my way back around to it. And I'm like finally trying to bridge my way to the end because I was like 3/4 of the way done with it. I'm nervous because I've never released a book. I've only ever released songs.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how to go about it yet. Like, I haven't like approached anyone or, you know, anything like that. So I'm scared of that part of it, but I'm super excited too. And I'm happy about, you know, like I'm still obviously threading music into it as well. So it brings like my 2 favorite
Is your
things.
thought to like release the album and the book at the same time?
Yes, I think so because the songs are written into the book. So the lyrics are all in the book.
Is the character a
The
singer?
character is a singer-songwriter. I mean, write what you know.
The new Daisy
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess.
Version.
I don't know if there were lyrics in that.
There were.
Oh, there were?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was always
no,
like,
no.
what are we going to do with these?
No, I think
Yeah.
there were lyrics. I think there weren't songs. I think the
Right.
songs
No,
were...
you're right. There wasn't.
I think like maybe Blake Mills and all those guys like
Yes.
put music to the lyrics later.
Yes.
I'm doing it, I guess, the other way, which is like I wrote the songs first and I'm writing the book around.
I like that idea.
But yeah, no, I think they should be out side by side so that you can listen to what is being worked on in the book and kind of experience it along with the character.
Has that ever been done?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything thing.
I feel like it's like hard to market albums, so this is probably a great...
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm such a hopeless romantic, so like I love rom-coms and all that. And so that was just like that's my happy place. And that's really why I started writing the book. I needed an escape because things were so heavy during COVID. And so that was like initially when I started like the seeds of it is when I was so sick of writing on Zoom. And it was like a year and a half or two into COVID where we had like a flare up and people went back to like writing on Zoom. And I just said to my manager, I was like, I can't do this. Like I'm not going into sessions. And then I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. One day I just sat down and started writing. And part of my book is based in Italy, which is also where I got married and also just sort of my happy place. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I can just take myself right there by just writing myself into it. I started that book as just like a lifeline for myself when I was sick of the four walls that I was like feeling trapped in, And it's so funny because it's become my lifeline now.
I was going to say.
Yeah, because when I finally found my way back to working on it in the last month, actually, and I started reading it again from the beginning, it made me so happy to be somewhere else.
Oh, that's great.
And like be with these characters who haven't been through what I've been through and don't know anything about this hardship. And I was like, oh, this is my version of an escape, which I don't know if like my therapist would say that.
No, I think that's super normal. I was not reading fiction for a long time, and during COVID, I got back into it. And I was like, because it was such a great escape, you're like, oh, I'm just going to like go into somebody else's life for half an hour or whatever while I read here.
Yeah, because mine's so heavy. I'm just, and I'm tired of the heavy. And so when I go back into that place, I'm like, this is where I get to be somewhere else. I get to live this other existence. I get to create these other realities where these things didn't happen. And that's such a relief. And so in that way, because when I'm songwriting, like, and I've written a few songs now since Jeremy passed, I can't help but write sad songs at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's your experience. Yeah.
Working on the book has felt really good because I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I don't have to be sad in here.
And are all the songs for the book written already?
I think so.
Might need a grand finale number.
I might. I'm not sure yet.
Can we just touch very briefly on Can't Go Back, which is my favorite sad song of yours?
Thank you.
What'd you write that about?
When we wrote that song, when I made my first album, my dad died at the beginning of making that record. As you know, like, I don't know how long it's been for you since your father passed, but it takes a while to process these things. I spent the first year and a half after my dad died literally burying my head in touring because my record came out, sort of crickets. Then Lindsay Wolvington changed my life.
No.
I think Pantene changed your life, and then apparently...
it did initially, but then, like, then I, like, put all that money into the record, and then I was like, hope it works out. And then, like, nothing happened for, like, 3 months, and it felt like the longest 3 months of my life. Yeah. And then One Tree Hill came knocking.
Well, the first placement was actually Ghost Whisperer.
Oh, okay. During all of that, I was not processing. I just, like, as soon as all that started happening, I was just touring, like, nonstop back to back, with William and with Greg Laswell and, just a lot of people. And so I was just gone all the time. And then the dam, like, broke probably like a year and a half in, and I started writing. And then I finally came to LA to make my second record with Tony Berg. And I was like a few songs short. And I was also like really heavily feeling the grief had like snuck up on me in such a big way, in like a new way. And Natalie and Kate are just, Natalie Hemby, Kate York, both so good at the sad. At like tapping right into the emotion. And so they came over, they were in LA at the time. Natalie had already co-written, I think, another 1 or 2 songs on the album, and she was going to come sing as well. We sat down, and I think that we just talked about, I think maybe it started with Kate had driven by her old childhood home, and she had talked about how you just can't go back to those things. It's so hard that you can't go back, even when you wish you could. Like, she wanted to go in. And that kind of started it, and then talking about, like, the regrets I had, like, with my dad dying, and, like, the last time I saw him, I didn't hug him because I was really upset at him because I hadn't seen him for 10 years and, all these things. And that's kind of, like, where the seed of that came from. It's just really coming to terms with the fact that, like, as much as you want to, you can't go back to those things and change them. It's a common theme.
Yeah. But you're even just like your ooze on that one, though, just give you that heart pain that you feel.
The three of us, when we wrote it, it felt, I'm Jewish, but it felt like church. Like the moment we started singing, because obviously they're both such incredible singers, and they are incredible harmonizers. And it just the whole room just changed, and the three of us looked at each other and we were like, whoa, and we just felt it in the room immediately. And we recorded it into like GarageBand and a laptop. And Natalie always likes to throw like this, I think it's like a church reverb actually on it. And I took it to Tony and I was like, I need it to sound exactly like this. I was like, I don't want to change it. This is the vibe. And he heard it immediately. He was like, absolutely. Later when it got recut.
By Little Big Town?
Yeah, by Little Big Town. I was hoping they would like sort of keep that, but they ended up going more of like a choral vibe, which I also love, but I really missed the sort of like church reverb of it.
Agree.
Yeah. Gives it like a gravitas or something.
Yeah, because those oohs to me are guttural.
Yes.
Because they felt guttural when we sung them in the room, and they felt guttural when I recorded them. And they feel guttural every time I perform. It's one of those songs where every time I perform it, I feel emotional because it just feels so true.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here today. And
Thanks for having me.
talking about all these hard things. But I feel like that's what gets us through it all.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is truly like you have changed my life in such a meaningful way.
Aww.
And as has like film and TV, and it's such a incredible avenue for singer-songwriters and has been for such a long time that I was so excited to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you for joining us today on Sad Song Queens, because you always need a good cry. We will link these songs on our show page, as well as the Sad Song Queens Spotify playlist.
Huge thanks to Rosi Golan, David Margolis, Melissa Fuller, Davis Nash, and Kyle Mormon. Special production thanks to Rob Seals and the Songwriting School of Los Angeles, Stephanie Gangle, Eugenia Coe, and our producer, Emily Cartham. To help raise money for the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation, please stream or download Right Now by Rosi Golan, as we discussed in this conversation.
A huge way to show support for the podcast is if you could like, subscribe, and leave a comment about how much you're enjoying the show.
Our theme song is All My Favorite Songs by Weezer, and our outro music is by Wyatt Rouse. Hi, it's Lindsay from the Sad Song Queens podcast. You may have heard us allude to Rob or thank Rob Seals and the Songwriting School of Los Angeles at the end of our podcast. He has been so kind to let us record in his studio, and the Songwriting School is an awesome place. If you want to learn how to songwrite, record, or even information how to release or sync your song, there's a class for that.
The Songwriting School of Los Angeles is devoted to the artistry and industry of songs. To learn more, go to thesongwritingschool.com, where you can learn more or enroll in classes.